Button or are you pushing? Oh. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another installment of our random weekly lives that we've been doing. I don't even remember if I was on with you guys last week. Now, I don't think I was. I think I was having bodily issues. That sounded weird, but I was not well. Um, and boy, has there been a lot of change lately. So if that's been going on for you too? I know I've talked to a lot of people who have had a lot of stuff come up recently, and one of the things that I've become aware of over the years of being on this journey is when that stuff comes up, like oftentimes when you ask for change and you're going, you know what, I'd really like this area of my life to change, or I'd really like a bigger life, or I'd really like a lot more of what's true for me, then all of those things, when you're actually willing to receive it, all of those things that you've been choosing as limitations that have been there to stop you start getting a lot louder. And it's not that you're choosing them more, it's that you're finally becoming aware of them and actually beginning to see them. So I know we call this, Are You Asking Big Enough for You? But I'm just going to go with where we're going to go and we'll see how that goes. How does that sound? Oh my goodness. Amazing. So what I do with that, and basically, I think I want to bring this up because I know for me, when I've got stuff going on in my world, which I have in the last week, it's been such an interesting journey. There's been all of these different kind of old energies that would have been there in my life in the past have been present again. Um, Points of view about myself that have been there in the past have been present again. Um, uh, just all of these kind of not light things that have been coming up, and I've been like, okay, cool. So what is this? And to the best of my ability, I start with a question with all of it, because one of the things I've also learned is as soon as we come to a conclusion with anything, we stop the change, and nothing can come into your universe that doesn't match that conclusion or answer or judgment. So being present with it, but also rather than having to force anything into changing, rather than have to go to projection and expectation of how it could change and should change, is okay, what's it going to take for this to change? And for me, so in the last week, it's been interesting with that. Interesting with just being present with it. And some of the other tools I use with this is like getting present with when things come up, and rather than going to judgment of yourself of, oh, here's that thing again, and here it is showing up again, and what am I doing wrong, is what's right about me and what's right about this that I'm not getting. And see, because that takes a lot of vulnerability to just be present with something that you've previously been in judgment of. How much more kindness would that allow you to have for you if you could actually have something, even get a sense of something up in your world right now, something that you've been wanting to change, trying to force to change, judging yourself for not changing, just one of those things. And what if you could just be with it? Oh. And from that space, what energy could I be that would allow all of this to melt with total ease? And then everything that doesn't allow that, destroy and uncreate it. Times a godzillion, right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povads, bases, and beyonds. Because this thing with, let me see if I can loop into this topic of what this is of, are you asking big enough for you? Is how much do we begin that question even with a judgment of, oh, well, that's not big enough. I'm not asking big enough for me. So what's wrong with me? Or I really should be asking for more. And if I'm not, what's wrong with me? Or I should ask for more based on what I've decided should be right, rather than, no, what would actually be joyful for you to live as? And I know for me, it's like one of the things I've realized a lot more recently is, well, I haven't been asking for even close to big enough amounts of gratitude that I would like to live as, but also what I would like to live as. And see, because for a lot of us, we look to, well, what kind of a life would I like to have? Well, That's great, but the only problem with that is creating a life is creating completion. And looking for the life is looking for the end game, looking for the stop points that you can get to so that you can have what you've decided you should have, rather than what would it be like to live fully in each moment? Would that be big enough for you? Where it didn't have to be about um, this is a good moment, so I'll allow myself to fully show up and enjoy it. But then this is a bad moment, so I'm going to distance myself from it and create separation and judgment with it, because that's not living. That doesn't get us anywhere. What if you could allow yourself to fully live, no matter what the world around you was presenting? Everything that is times a godzillion. And I got to tell you guys something else that I probably already told you, but after this, everything that is where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads, bases, and beyonds. Now, if you've heard the clearing statement and me using it before a few weeks ago, we didn't have bases in there. That's been an addition to the clearing statement after a class that we did uh, a few weeks ago, a few light years ago. That's what it feels like to me. But basically, what this is with the bases is plural for basis. What basis is it's basically what the elements of what goes together to create the foundation of something. So if you look at that energetically, like if you look at some of the areas of your life that aren't working, and have you ever noticed that even when you get that it's not working, or even when you get the awareness that you're choosing it, you're still like, and it's still not changing, or or you'll have the awareness of this different possibility or this different space with something, and you're like, why can I never seem to get to that? Well, how many bases do you have creating these fundamental energetic structures of your life? Everything that is times a godzillion. Hello from Hungary, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads, bases, and beyond. So this is, and especially on this topic, is so helpful with this, because if you look at how many bases, or let's let me say this: we did 6 days of talking about this, of talking about bases. Okay, bases, 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 bases. But at the end of 6 days, you're like, would you shut the fuck up? We're saying bases. um, please. And so I get it if you hear this for 10 minutes and you're like, will you shut the fuck up with saying bases after 10 minutes, please? I get that. But we talked about it for 6 days. And even after that 6 days, I was like, wow, this thing is huge. This is huge. And I know that when I feel like I go back to kindergarten in access. And please know that if you're on this journey now and you get to points where you're like, oh, so much space. And then the next day you're like, and I feel like I'm back in baby school, or kindergarten access. Good. That means you're actually getting present with your awareness of what something is. And please know that that is not a wrongness. So after 6 days with this, I was like, holy shit, I feel like I'm back in kindergarten access. But it's huge. I mean, if you look at this from the idea of how many, if we look at it from the idea of, if something doesn't change, it doesn't change because we've structured it that way. What does that mean? Well, even when you get the sense of it changing, you would have to be willing to go beyond what you've structured it as in order to allow the change to show up. So if we look at something like money, for example, and you could quite easily go, well, I would, let's begin with this. Is there anyone out there that doesn't have shit going on with money right now? Can we just acknowledge that you're not alone? And, and it doesn't really even matter to the amount of money. It's more, it's up in the world right now, and the world is basically in a depression when no one's really talking about it, and we're all psychic, we're all energetically aware, believing that it's ours, but we're all connected to our awareness of what's actually going on in the world. So everything that brings up, but all the bases that you have telling you that everything that you're aware of must be yours, and it's your problem to fix, and it's your problem to solve, and you're stuck with it until it's solved in the world. Everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. I'm a little full on tonight. Is it just me, or am I a little full on? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys, povads, basies, and beyonds. I'm actually here in Istanbul at the moment. I got here last night, and like I said, I've been walking this path of what next and what have I got to look at and what's going to take for this to change for the last week or so. It's not been comfortable at all, and I'm always full on. And so I got here last night to Istanbul, which is a little full on. There's a lot of people, but I've got this hotel that's right by the sea, and I can see the sea, and something about that just soothes my soul in a way that I cannot describe. It just The ocean brings me peace, and I bring that up because what brings you peace? Please add more of that to your life. Whatever that is, add more of it to your life, and certainly and most definitely in those times where it's not easy and it's not comfortable and it's not you kind of feel like you're going backwards is what can I what one choice, what anything can I choose right now that would give me a sense of lightness? So, I was talking about money, and then I just so sneakily just averted the whole conversation because what happens when we talk about money? Oh boy, there it is. So everything that all brings up, just the word, all the bases creating that, can we destroy and uncreate it? Times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all nine, shorts, boys, povad, spacies, and beyonds. And it's interesting too because doing these, we're doing these lives. It For me, I mean, I could come on and talk about things, I guess, in a different way, but I'm not quite sure how to not talk about things through the way that I'm going through them, and have been through them and have changed through them and have been stuck with them because I get that we all have our own ways of um, we all have our own kind of special recipes that we use to create our lives. Some people might have a lot more freedom with money, but have a lot more shit with relationship. Or some people might have a lot more freedom and way less judgment with their body, but far more judgment and far less freedom with money or whatever that is. So it's like, but it's all it's all wrapped together energetically, which means basically it all stems from judgment. So with this, if we in this conversation with the like looking at the way that limitations are structured because they look so real. Like I don't know about you guys, but when I'm like stuck in the middle of something, I am like it is real, it is here, it is heavy, it is solid. That's what's going on. And so but that's the way that we create it. And so in that thing of eh, if we took money as an example and we could look at it and go, okay, so what's it going to take for this to change? And you may have an awareness of some space or freedom beyond it. But if we look at it like this, like let's say with money, let's say an amount of money showed up in your bank account right now that would change all of this. Let's say you got $100,000 showed up in your bank account right now in whatever currency that is. You had 100,000 US dollars or 100,000 euros show up in your bank account right now. What would that create? And so it's kind of easy to look at that and go, oh man, that would create freedom and that would give me so much more choice and that would give me this and that would give me that. But if you look at it and to the best of your ability, you're willing to be honest with yourself with that also. And what I've done in looking at this, I'm like, oh, that'd be so great. And then I'm like, okay, but would it? Like, if I was really being honest with me right now, would it? What would that create energetically? Well, it would shatter this structure that I have, keeping these limitations in place. So it might be, oh, I would have these certain choices that I've decided that I can't make because I don't have the money. Or it would create this sense of freedom that I've been not choosing because I don't have the money. Well, how much of our limitations do we create so that we don't actually have that choice? So everything that brings up times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, pobad, spacies, and beyonds. It could be an interesting thing to hear that, because I know for a lot of people, you'll hear that and you're like, no, that's bullshit. Like, if that showed up in my bank account right now, all my problems would be solved. Well, you maybe for now, but would you recreate them? Because is it much more familiar to live from that space of limitation? Now, please know I'm not making this is not it's not about seeing anything as right or wrong, but one of the things I've learned for myself is true freedom doesn't come unless you have the willingness to be present with what is, to be present with where you're choosing something from. Because, man, have I done this where I'm like, I'll get free of something, but then, like, I used to do this thing of, I get joyful, like, just like, oh my goodness, like, just I'm happy for no reason. And I would let that last for maybe a couple of hours until I was back into heaviness and anxiety and worry and all of these things. And I'd be like, what is going on? Like, still kind of had the point of view that things were happening to me. So I'd be like, what's happening? What's happening? Why is this showing up? And I started realizing that for me, it was far more familiar and far more comfortable energetically to have struggle, to have stress, to have worry, to have panic, to have anger, to have sadness, to have heaviness, to have judgment, to have all of those things. But all of that is bases. So everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povad, spacies, and beyonds. So if we can look at it like that, part of the way that we create um, uh, part of the thing with part easy for me to say, part of what doesn't allow things to change is our commitment to them. So with this of looking at money for an example, or something changing in your life for an example, is you would have to be willing for the point of view that you have about you to shift dynamically. So everything that is, and everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that, will you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povad, spacies, and beyonds. Like, how much easier is it to have the point of view about yourself that you're normal, average, and real, or that struggle is normal, or that you're less than others, or that you're like whatever that is. How much more comfortable is it to have that point of view about you than I have no idea who I am and what grand and glorious adventures can I have today? How much more comfortable is it than waking up every day and going, oh my God, how the hell did I get so lucky to be me? I know I'm not perfect, and I know that I've got my things that I'm changing, but how the hell did I get so lucky to be me? Would that be asking for big enough for you? Like, having true gratitude for you, truly liking who you are. And man, has that been a journey for me, that one. Oh, I tell you, boy. Um, so one of the okay, so now that I've kind of opened a can of worms with the whole bases thing, and you might be thinking, Jesus Christ, well, I still don't know what's going on. I get it. Don't worry about that. But hopefully, you get some sense of this. Um, uh, the How do I put this? How many of you are far more energetically complex than you've ever given yourself credit for? What I mean by that is just how much awareness do you have not only of what's going on in your world, but what's going on of everyone that you're thinking about, everyone that you're connected to, the people around your house, the people in your city, the people that you work with, the all of it, you know. And it's like one of the things that for me, I've I remember as a little kid just being so aware and just feeling so almost insane with the amount of awareness, but I didn't really have anyone that could be like, give me that had any tools, and most of us didn't. And but one of the things that I started to create was, and I see that a lot of us do, is try and create separation from your awareness to create some sense of peace. That doesn't necessarily work, because what doesn't it's not necessarily work, it doesn't work at all, because in order to create that, you have to separate from you. And so with that, what would it be like if you started acknowledging a lot more of your awareness rather than trying to escape it? With okay, so the tool that we have in Access, which is who does it belong to, which basically you ask for any thoughts, any feelings, any emotions that come up. You want to ask, who does it belong to? And if it lightens up at all, it's not yours. This tool is so overlooked and so valuable simultaneously that asking that with everything, if you do that for 3 days, every thought, every feeling, every emotion, every pain in your body, every just point of view that comes up, who does it belong to? Return it to sender with consciousness attached for 3 days. You will break the thinking mechanism that you have that everything must be yours. So, trying that out. See, so I had a conversation. I think I may have mentioned it on one of these lives, which was I had a conversation with somebody, and I was looking at the. Well, actually, let me backtrack a little bit, because see, so a lot of you have heard me talking about being a recovering alcoholic, and now years into my sobriety, still still things that come up every day with that, and not the desire to drink, but things come up that are the things that I would have drunk in the past to avoid. And so now with being present with them, one of the things for me, one of the things I know about um sobriety, but really the key to freedom from anything that's been holding you back is creating your life and living. Because if you have that, if you're creating a life and living big enough for you, then nothing can stop you. And so in looking at this, I was having this conversation with a friend, and he was like, "Hey, have you what would be your ideal life in the next 10 years?" And I was like, "Well, good question." And and he was asking, "Is that big enough for you?" So I wrote a list down. I wrote a list of things down that I was like, my ideal life in the next 10 years, what would that be? And one of the things I was talking about was having really getting access and things out there, these tools with sobriety, being in recovery clinics and things like that. And he was like, what do you really want with that? When I was talking to him about this, and I was like, you know what? I just want to be open, and I want to be honest, and I want to be the change that I would like to see in the world with this. And he was like, okay, that's the energy that you've got to ask for. So I bring that up because, I was doing a session with um this woman actually earlier today, and I was asking her about this, and she was going, you know what, I want lots of money, and I want the um, perfect relationship, and I want the house thing, and all of these things, which are great. I mean, please ask for those also. But what I was looking for with her was this energy, like the generative energy that actually sparks the creation of your life, living. And she was like, and I said, let me change it a little bit and ask you this way. And I said, when you were a little kid, what did you want more than anything in the whole wide world? And she was like, I just wanted to be happy. And it was interesting watching her perceiving her whole universe expand with that energy. So let me ask you guys this. So as a little kid, what did you want in this world? What did you want as your life and living more than anything? What was that energy for you? And everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that, will you destroy and uncreate it? Times a godzillion, right, wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all nine, shorts, boys, perverts, spacies, and beyonds. What if that was something that you started asking for again? You know, one of the things on my list that I wrote was to live as true peace. One of the things I know about that, living as true peace and living from peace is I can't have it unless I'm willing to have honesty with myself. Because any lie that I have with me is a secret that I'm keeping, and it doesn't work. So anyway, blah blah, everything that brought up Pock and Pod. So what else? What else? What else? I think I'm about done talking. Um, uh, okay, yeah, I think I'm done talking. So that tool is write it down. Get yourself a list of what would be your ideal life in the next 10 years, and then so with that, you got a sense of your ideal life in the next 10 years. Get a sense of that energetically, what it would be like to have that. And now, what can I be and do today? What energy can I be today that would allow me to receive this right away, to receive this all right away? What if that future that you truly desire to be creating as you're living could be here faster than you can ever imagine? Okay, my beautiful friends. Thank you for being here. I'll see you guys next week. Or if you're on my Telegram chat, live again tomorrow at some time that I'm unsure of, that you will find out in my Telegram chat. Also, I want to tell you about a couple of things. Tomorrow, I have a Being You intro that's online. It's around this time, actually. It'll be around this time tomorrow in 24 hours. You can find that on my website. I also have a monthly membership, which is $29 a month. It's 2 calls. It's called The Journey. It's just like this epic journey. So check that out too if you desire. Jump on my Telegram channel if that sounds like fun. Um, but most of all, find what makes you lighter and choose it. Please choose more of that. And what else is possible for you, my beautiful friends, that you have never considered? I am grateful. Thank you for being here. Bye bye from Istanbul. Mwah.